Welcome, friends, to another teaching in the series, The Buddha's Original Teachings. Today, we step into one of the most profound and transformative insights the Buddha ever discovered, an insight he called a deep truth, difficult to see, going against the current of the world. This is the teaching of dependent origination, or in Pali, Paticca Samuppada. This principle appears throughout the early Buddhist texts, especially in the Saṁyutta Nikaya, in the Nidāna Saṁyutta, where the Buddha explains how suffering arises, not from fate, not from the will of a god, not randomly, but from conditions. And if suffering arises from conditions, then when those conditions cease, suffering also ceases. This teaching is often described as the heart of Buddhism, because it explains why we feel lost or burdened, and how we can become genuinely free. Let us explore this with clarity, gentleness, and many examples, so you can truly see how this principle is alive in your daily experience. Dependent origination can be summarized in one sentence. When this is, that is. When this arises, that arises. When this is not, that is not. When this ceases, that ceases. Saṁyutta Nikaya 1261. This is not abstract philosophy. It is a description of how your life unfolds moment by moment. For example, if you plant a mango seed in rich soil, water it, give it sunlight, conditions are present, and a tree grows. If the soil is wrong, or the seed is burned, or water is absent, the tree will not grow. We understand this with plants. But the Buddha is telling us, this is how everything works: your emotions, your habits, your identity, your joy, your suffering. Nothing arises independently. Nothing exists in isolation. Everything depends on causes and conditions. This truth is not meant to make us feel small or mechanical. On the contrary, it opens the door to freedom, because when we understand the chain of conditions, we can change them. The Buddha gives a detailed version of this chain in many suttas, including SN 12.1, describing the 12 links. 1. Ignorance. 2. Formations. 3. Consciousness. 4. Name and form. 5. 6. Sense bases. 6. Contact. 7. Feeling. 8. Craving. Clinging. 10. Becoming. 11. Birth. 12. Aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, and suffering. These links are not linear events in one lifetime. They are psychological processes happening every moment. Let's bring them to life with examples so you can see the chain unfolding in your day. Ignorance does not mean stupidity. It means not seeing reality clearly, especially not seeing three characteristics taught repeatedly in the early suttas: impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. When we don't understand life's changing nature, we build sankhara, mental formations, impulses, habits. For example, imagine you wake up and immediately check your phone. Your mind says, maybe there's a message that will make me feel good. This is a formation, a mental habit driven by the belief that happiness can be secured through stimulation. The Buddha says these formations shape our consciousness, how we perceive the world. So the moment you see a message you don't like, irritation arises instantly. Not because of the message itself, but because the mind, shaped by past habits, jumps to reaction. This is how the first links unfold, quietly and automatically. The next links describe how experience takes shape. When consciousness arises, knowing a sight, a sound, a thought, it immediately gives rise to nama-rupa, name and form, meaning the mental labeling and the physical sensation. Put simply, you see a shape, consciousness registers it, the mind labels it my friend, esteem a stranger, or that person who once hurt me. Then the 6 sense bases, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, get activated. This happens faster than a blink. Have you ever walked into a room, seen someone, and instantly felt your mood shift? Your body tightens, your mind reacts, memories arise. This entire cascade from consciousness to the senses is unfolding at a speed the Buddha compared to a flash of lightning. But the Buddha taught this not to impress us with complexity. He taught it so we can see how much of our suffering is conditioning, not destiny. Next comes contact, the meeting of sense organ, object, and consciousness. This produces Vedana, feeling. But feeling here doesn't mean emotion. It means the basic tone of experience. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. For example, you smell your favorite food, pleasant feeling. Someone cuts in front of you in traffic, unpleasant feeling. You look at a blank wall, neutral feeling. Feeling is universal. Even animals experience it, even insects. But the Buddha pointed out something revolutionary. Feeling is not the problem. Feeling is simply nature. The problem comes next. This is where suffering begins. Pleasant feeling, craving arises. I want more. Unpleasant feeling, craving arises. I want this to go away. Neutral feeling, craving arises. I want something more stimulating. For example, pleasant feeling. You get a compliment. Your mind reaches for more. Say it again. Unpleasant feeling. Someone criticizes you. You want to push the experience away. Neutral feeling. You're bored. You reach for your phone without thinking. The Buddha teaches in SN 36.6 that all suffering grows from the tendency to react to feeling. Feeling itself is harmless. You cannot stop pleasant or unpleasant sensations from arising, but craving is optional if awareness is present. When craving solidifies, it becomes clinging, holding on tightly to views, identities, possessions, memories, hopes. Clinging is like grabbing a hot coal and insisting you need it. You suffer not because life burns you, but because you refuse to let go. From clinging comes becoming, patterns strengthening, identities forming. For example, you cling to the idea, I must be admired. Then you act in ways to build that identity, seeking praise, avoiding situations where you may fail. You become a version of yourself shaped by craving. Then birth occurs, not literal birth, but the birth of a new self-image. I am the kind person. I am the angry person. I am the one who always gets hurt. I am the successful one. Each time you cling, a new identity is born, and with that identity comes vulnerability, because what has been born must age and die, which brings us to the last link. When the Buddha speaks about aging and death in this chain, he is speaking not only about the physical body, but about the death of every constructed identity. You want to be admired. Someone criticizes you. That identity dies. You suffer. You want to be loved. Someone leaves you. That identity dies. You suffer. This suffering includes sorrow, lamentation, grief, despair, the full range of emotional pain. The Buddha says in SN 1240, by understanding even one link of the chain deeply, liberation begins. And that is our next step. To practice dependent origination, we must be able to see one simple thing: feeling, craving. If you can catch this moment, you can transform your life. Imagine someone insults you. The unpleasant feeling arises. If you pause, just a breath, you may see the craving. I want them to respect me. I want justice. I want them to be wrong. If you see the craving clearly, without judgment, something extraordinary happens. Clinging does not form. Becoming does not form. A new identity, angry, resentful, hurt, does not form. You experience the moment, but you do not become it. This is freedom, Not mystical, not dramatic, but entirely practical. Throughout the suttas, the Buddha gives powerful images to illustrate dependent origination. One is found in SN 1267, where ignorance is like a seed. Put it in the soil of craving, water it with clinging, and the tree of suffering grows tall. Another simile compares craving to a thief leading a blind man. The blind man is consciousness, the thief is craving. Where craving drags you, consciousness follows. And another simile speaks of identity as a puppet pulled by strings. When craving is cut, the puppet falls still. These images are simple but profound. They show us we are not punished by the chain, but simply reacting automatically, habitually. Let's bring this teaching into everyday experience. 1. When someone praises you, pleasant feeling arises. If unnoticed, craving arises. I want more of this. Clinging forms. I am someone who should always be praised. Next time someone is indifferent or critical, suffering arises. But with awareness, pleasant feeling is simply known. Craving is seen and not fed. No suffering follows. 2. When you lose something valuable, unpleasant feeling arises, craving arises. I need it back. Clinging strengthens. This is mine. But if you see the feeling clearly as simply a sensation, hot, tight, vibrating, craving weakens. You suffer less, not because the object returns, but because the chain has been seen. 3. When you feel bored, neutral feeling arises, craving arises. I need stimulation. Clinging. I must escape this moment. If you can sit with boredom even for a moment, you discover it is not a problem, only sensation. Breaking the chain begins with the smallest moments. The Buddha did not teach dependent origination to show us why we are trapped. He taught it to show how we can be free. Just as the chain builds suffering, it can be reversed. Ignorance, clarity, craving, letting go, clinging, spaciousness, becoming, release. And the Buddha gives a clear path, the Noble Eightfold Path, especially right view and right mindfulness, which help us see the chain with wisdom. When wisdom touches any link, the chain breaks. This is why the Buddha says in SN 1223 that from suffering comes faith, from faith comes joy, from joy comes calm, from calm comes concentration, from concentration comes insight, and insight cuts the chain. How to practice. There are 3 simple ways to train in dependent origination. 1. Mindfulness of feeling. Sen 36. Whenever pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feeling arises, note it gently. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Don't push, pull, or twist the feeling. Just see it. 2. Look for the craving behind reactions. Ask, what am I wanting right now? What am I resisting right now? Sometimes the answer is subtle, like wanting comfort or wanting to be right. 3. Practice letting go at the smallest link. Let go not of the feeling, but of the craving. The chain weakens over time. This is the daily practice that leads to profound peace. The freedom described by the Buddha. The Buddha says in SN 1251 that when a practitioner sees the chain clearly, even for a moment, their heart becomes independent, unshaken, and at ease. You begin to see you are not your reactions, you are not your cravings. You are not the identities born from clinging. You are the awareness that sees it all. And when this understanding becomes stable, the cycle of suffering grows weaker and weaker, like a fire running out of fuel. This is not a belief. It is not something to accept on faith. It is something you can observe in your own mind every day. Friends, dependent origination is not a philosophy to memorize. It is a mirror for understanding your life. The Buddha said that when he discovered this truth, he saw the world as if illuminated, like seeing the roots of a tree for the first time. When you understand the chain, you see how suffering begins, and more importantly, how it ends. Thank you for joining this teaching in the Buddha's original teachings. May this understanding bring clarity to your mind, compassion to your heart, and freedom to your life. May you be well. May you be peaceful. May you be free.